Well, here we are, guys. We are approaching the end of 2022. Now seems like a great time to take stock of how much progress we've made in the hearts and minds of all the denizens of the pond. I'm not talking about the island or the ocean. I'm talking about the true pond dwellers, those proponents of our competitors who spun all the false narratives about Cardano being a ghost chain of no value, who omitted us from every list and every statistic where we outshined their favorite blockchains, and who straight up lied about us. After surveying the landscape, I'm proud to say that they still hate us just as fervently, and it looks like they have no intention of easing up on all the propaganda and psyops, and that is still a very good thing for us. Ready? Let's go. Today, we are going to discuss the ongoing extreme bias against Cardano among some crypto media outlets, Caroline Ellison of Alameda Research finally catching some charges courtesy of the feds and pleading guilty to them, and apparently working with the feds, the New York Fed unexpectedly showing some appreciation for DeFi, and jpg.store attempting to make some inroads into the communities of our competitors. If you have strong feelings about whether this Cardano hating person would be more of an Ethereum guy or more of a Solana guy, or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Also, if you would like to sponsor one or more of the videos on this channel, please hit me up on Twitter. Well, guys, once again, our brother at arms, Adawell, has exposed a mainstream crypto media outlet for seemingly willfully omitting Cardano. He posted short tell of how the perfidious means deceitful and untrustworthy, short tell of how the perfidious crypto industry, which us mere users don't form a part of, by the way, is stacked against Cardano. The block's digital asset outlook 2023 word count, and he shows how they mentioned Bitcoin 91 times. They mentioned Binance 25 times, Doge 12 times, Polkadot 19, Polygon 66, Solana 52, FTX 107, Ethereum 265 times, and Cardano a grand total of 0 times. Does this even make any sense? You can't even make an argument based on, you can't make an argument based on anything. If you're going to talk about FTX over 100 times, Solana 50 times, even Doge 12 times, how can you not mention Cardano a single time? I haven't read this digital asset outlook 2023 piece from the block, but I can say if it has that title, if it's about digital assets and the outlook in 2023 on digital assets, and you mention all of these different projects this many times, and yet you don't find any reason to mention Cardano even a single time, you're not really doing journalism. You're doing something else. I don't think you could even talk about digital assets and pretend to be mentioning everything relevant or important and not mention Cardano, which is a top 10 ecosystem and aimed at the same kind of Gen 3 smart contract use cases that a lot of these other projects that were mentioned many, many times are after. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever not to mention Cardano unless you have big bags in some of these other ecosystems and you really, really don't want a completely different type of ecosystem. This Cardano thing where they're not an account balance system. They took the UTXO system from Bitcoin and extended that to include the smart contract use cases. So you could have smart contracts within this UTXO context, because that's a pretty widely heralded lineage. If someone could take Bitcoin's UTXO system, unspent transaction output system, and add smart contracts to it and actually have it work, that's a pretty threatening thing to anybody in the account balance world, because the limitations of the account balance outlook on how to do smart contracts is pretty well documented at this point. Everybody realizes the problems with smart contracts in the account balance world. The account balance outlook on how to do programmability in the blockchain world was the de facto situation you just had to accept for years and years. Users had to accept that you were going to have global state, you were going to have lack of fee determinism. And to create decentralized exchanges, they would have to employ AMMs, which included impermanent loss, so that just by providing liquidity to liquidity pools, you were subjecting yourself to a loss of the value of the assets that you originally put in the pool, and they had to invent all these other means of trying to make up for the impermanent loss, and none of it really made any sense, but it was the only way to do it in the account balance EVM world. That's what everybody got used to. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these guys come along, these Cardano guys, and they're like, hey, I think we might have a better way to do this. The second you hear that, the second you hear there might be a better way to do all this, and you believe this might be true, if you're a bag holder of these other ecosystems, if you're a big Ethereum bag holder, any of these ecosystems that are operating on that older account balance EVM style outlook on how to do programmability in blockchains, if you hear people come along and say, hey, I think there's a better way to do this, and you think there's any kernel of truth to what they're saying, and you are self-interested, and you are unscrupulous, you should start employing all of the tools of good psyops and propaganda and misleading posts and omissions of this new blockchain ecosystem everywhere you can. You should wage a propaganda war to make sure that people don't find out about this new ecosystem, this new outlook on how to do programmability in blockchains. That's why I'm so glad that they're still doing this. If they stop doing this, it would mean they learned something about Cardano that made them no longer afraid that Cardano might disrupt what the blockchains they're invested in are actually doing. And I mean, I don't think we can say that these big media outlets, mainstream media outlets in crypto aren't, I don't want to use the word infested, but I think it's fair to say they're full of people who probably are invested in crypto. And if they've been around for a while, they're probably invested in blockchain ecosystems like Ethereum and all the other things on this list. A lot of them probably lost money in FTX. It doesn't make any sense for them to be promoting Cardano because they probably didn't get in on Cardano. Probably the VC investors who own chunks of the companies that own these media outlets, they weren't able to get on Cardano. We know because there was no VC investment in Cardano. So it doesn't make any sense for them to ever include Cardano. They weren't able to get in on Cardano. If Cardano is successful, it might disrupt the projects they were able to get in on. So while I'm sad to see it, while I'm always sad to see this kind of slant and bias in crypto journalism, I would be sad if it wasn't there. Because if it wasn't there, it would mean they're no longer afraid of what Cardano might do to their bags in the next bull cycle. Speaking of deceit and untrustworthiness, we saw these headlines come out just tonight. FTX's Gary Wang and Alameda Research's Caroline Ellison plead guilty to federal charges and are cooperating with prosecutors. So FTX co-founder Gary Wang and former Alameda Research co-CEO Caroline Ellison both pleaded guilty to federal charges in the Southern District of New York. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said in a message Wednesday. Wang pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit commodities fraud, and conspiracy to commit securities fraud. Ellison pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit commodities fraud, and conspiracy to commit securities fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. So a lot Caroline and Gary caught a lot of federal charges. So, why would they plead guilty so early in the game? It turns out it's exactly like everybody thought several weeks ago. And we know this because of this statement put out by the U.S. Attorney Damian Williams of the Southern District of New York. He let everybody know that they are both, Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang, cooperating with the investigation. So it sounds like they're definitely rolling over on SBF, who is, I believe he's agreed to be extradited to the U.S. and he's on his way to the U.S. right now. So he's not even in the U.S. yet. So they kind of got the jump on SBF, and it looks like they have rolled over on SBF, and he is not going to have a good time once he gets to the U.S. It sounds like the characters in this case have made very interesting choices. While SBF was busy doing Twitter spaces and interviews with crypto personalities, it sounds like Caroline and Gary were securing the best possible deal for themselves with the US attorneys. I think on the day that SBF gets sentenced, he's going to be doing nothing but wishing he never would have gone on those Twitter spaces. He never would have gone on the PR sympathy tour. Instead, he's going to be wishing that he would have done exactly what Caroline and Gary did. Actually, he's going to wish that he beat them and that he himself, the second this all blew up, ran directly to the U.S. Attorney's Office and cut a deal. Speaking of feds, we also saw this somewhat surprising blog post from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Can decentralized finance provide more protection for crypto investors? So this blog post came out today, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you might find some language that will surprise a lot of people in crypto. All aboard the DeFi train? Can investors obtain better protection when crypto firms fail if activities migrate from centralized crypto entities to DeFi protocols? Decentralization provides some clear benefits to investors by preventing misuse of customer funds and providing more transparency surrounding data and code. Governance procedures are also more transparent, though voting power can be highly concentrated and thus subject to manipulation. Okay. Moreover, the technology in DeFi allows different types of financial services to interact with few frictions. They go on to say, yes, there's excessive leverage in DeFi, and there are bugs in smart contract code as well as hacks. And there's been a lot of loss through DeFi smart contracts. And you also have some novel legal risks. It's unclear what the legal obligations of the DeFi platforms are toward their users, and the users seem to have little recourse if the people who created the platform are anonymous and might be anywhere in the world. But I think this is actually a very positive outlook on DeFi from the New York Fed. Granted, this isn't the SEC, this isn't the CFTC, this isn't the DOJ, but I think at this point, this is actually a very positive take on the failures of centralized finance in crypto this year versus what could be a future if DeFi is allowed to flourish. Finally, it looks like jpg.store is actually striking back, in a way against some of the Cardano haters by trying to make inroads into their very own communities. Here, jpg.store is posting, you can now buy any Cardano NFT with Ethereum or Sol, with Ether or Sol. And they have a nice graphic here, a gigantic graphic saying buy Cardano NFTs with ETH and Sol. This is pretty hilarious. I mean, if we end up onboarding a bunch of Ethereum and Solana people, which seems like that's kind of what's happening right now. It seems like we see more and more people coming over from Solana and Ethereum as Cardano grows. It's kind of hilarious if we onboard them by taking their Ether and their Sol and giving them Cardano NFTs. I hope you've been having a great week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.